and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at another Scottish cross Irish saint who was mentioned briefly in a previous video, Saint Columba. Columba, or Comkille, was an Irish abbot and missionary evangelist credited with spreading Christianity in what is today Scotland at the start of the Hiberno Scottish mission and one of the three patron saints of Ireland, after Patrick and Bridget of Kildare. He is credited with founding the most important abbey on Iona, which became a dominant religious and political institution in the region for centuries. He is the patron saint of Derry and is highly regarded by the Gaels of Dalrata and the Picts, and is remembered today as a Catholic saint and one of the 12 Apostles of Ireland. Columba was born to Phelim and Enya of the Canal in Gartan, a district between Loch Gartan, which is now in mainly modern County Donegal, the northern province in Ireland. On his father's side, he is claimed to have been the great-great-grandson of Niall of the Nine Hostages, a pseudo-historical Irish High King of the 5th century. He was baptised in Temple Douglas in the County Donegal parish of Cornwall by his teacher and foster uncle, Prunyak. Columba lived in the remote district of what is now Glen Comkille for roughly 5 years, which was named after him. It's not known for sure if his birth name was Comkille or if he adopted this name later in life. Union of Iona thought it may have been his birth name, but other Irish sources have claimed that his name at birth was different. There are other Irish sources that claim that his name was Crimfan, which means fox. In his Irish language, his name Comkille means dove, which is the same name as the prophet Jonah. Jonah in Hebrew is also dove, which Union of Iona as well as other Irish writers were aware of at the time. Although it is not clear if he was deliberately named after Jonah or not, Columba is also Latin for dove. When sufficiently advanced in letters, he entered the monastic school of Marbilia or Mavilla at Newtownards under Finian of Marbilia or Mavilla, who had studied at Ninian's Magnum Monasterium on the shores of Galloway. He was about 20 and a deacon when, having completed his training at Marbilia, he had travelled southwards into Leinster, where he had become a pupil of an aged bard named Gemman. On leaving him, Columba entered the monastery of Clonard, governed at the time by Finian, noted for sanctity and learning. Here he imbibed the traditions of the Welsh Church, for Finian had been trained in the schools of David. In early Christian Ireland, the Druidic tradition collapsed due to the spread of the new Christian faith. The study of Latin learning and Christian theology in monasteries flourished. Columba became a pupil at the monastic school of Clonard Abbey, situated on the River Boyne in modern County Meath. During the 6th century, some of the most significant names in history of Celtic Christianity studied at the Clonard Monastery. The average number of scholars under instruction then was said to be about 300. Columba was said to be one of 12 students of Finian of Clonard who had become known as the 12 Apostles of Ireland. He became a monk and eventually was ordained a priest. Another preceptor of Columba was Movi Claringnach, who was monastery at Glasnevin. A pestilence which devastated Ireland in 544 caused the dispersion of Movi's disciples, and Columba returned to Ulster, the land of his kindred. The legends state that he was a striking figure of great stature and powerful build, with a loud melodious voice, which could be heard from one hilltop to another. The foundation of several important monasteries marked the following years: Derry, Durrow, Kells and Swords. While at Derry, it's said that he had planned a pilgrimage to Rome and Jerusalem, but did not get further than Tours in France. From Tours, he brought a copy of those Gospels that had lain on the bosom of Martin for 100 years. Now I, for one, didn't understand the meaning of this, so I tried to find out. It's a bit of an old phrase, right? And I found out that the Basilica of St. Martin is a Roman Catholic basilica dedicated to St. Martin of Tours over his tomb and burial place. So I would assume these Gospels came from either the basilica or from the tomb itself. The word basilica is derived from a Greek term meaning royal house. In the Catholic world, A basilica is a church building that has been accorded special privileges by the Pope. This relic was brought back and deposited in Derry. Saint Columba is also believed to have established a church in County Mayo, which is also named Saint Columba's Church. Some traditions assert that sometime around 560, Columba became involved in a quarrel with Finian of Marbella Abbey over a psalter. Columba copied the manuscript at the scriptorium under Finian, intending to keep the copy. Finian disputed his right to keep it though. There is a suggestion that this conflict resulted in the Battle of Wildmender in 561, during which many men were killed, though there is evidence in the annals that Columba supported his own king against the High King. Political conflicts that had existed for some time resulted in the Clan Neil's battle against King Diarmuid at Wildmender in 561. Another issue, for example, was the king's violation of the right of sanctuary belonging to Columba's person as a monk on the occasion of the murder of Prince Cernan, Columba's kinsman. Prince Cernan of Connacht, who had fatally injured a rival in a hurling match, had taken refuge with Columba and was dragged from his protector's arms and slain in defiance of the rights of sanctuary. A synod of clerics and scholars threatened to excommunicate him for these deaths, but Brendan of Burr spoke on his behalf. Eventually, the process was deemed a miscarriage of justice. Columba's own conscience was uneasy, and on the advice of an aged hermit, Molesa, he had resolved to expiate his sense of offence by departing Ireland. The term exile is used in some references. This too can be disputed, however, for the term pilgrimage is used more frequently in the literature about him. A marker on Strove Beach on the Inishowen Peninsula commemorates the place where Columba set sail for Scotland. He left Ireland, but through the following years he returned several times, in relationships with the communities he had founded there. Columba's copy of the Psalter has been traditionally associated with the Cathach of Saint Columba. In 574 or 575, during his return from the Synod of Drumkeet, he founded the monastery near the battlefield. In 563 he travelled to Scotland with 12 companions, in a wicker curragh covered with leather. According to legend, he first landed on the Kintyre Peninsula near Southend. However, being still in sight of his native land, he moved further north up the west coast of Scotland. The island of Iona was given over to him by his kinsman, Conall MacCumgall, king of the Dalraita, who perhaps had invited him to come to Scotland in the first place. However, there is a sense in which he was not leaving his native people, as the Ulster Gaels had been colonising the west coast of Scotland for the previous couple of centuries. Aside from the services he provided, guiding the only centre of literacy in the region, his reputation as a holy man led to his role as a diplomat among the Pictish tribes. There are also many stories of miracles which he performed during his work to convert the Picts, the most famous being his encounter with an unidentified animal that some have equated with the Loch Ness Monster in 565. It's said that he banished a ferocious water beast to the depths of the River Ness after it had killed a Pict and had then tried to attack Columba's disciple Lugnair. He visited the pagan king Bride, king of Fortru, as his base in Inverness, winning Bride's respect, although not his conversion. He subsequently played a major role in the politics of the country. He was also very energetic in his work as a missionary, and in addition to founding several churches in the Hebrides, he worked to turn his monastery at Iona into a school for missionaries. He was a renowned man of letters, and having written several hymns and being credited with having transcribed 300 books. One of the few, if not the only times he left Scotland was towards the end of his life, when he returned to Ireland and found the monastery at Durrow. According to traditional sources, Columba died in Iona on a Sunday on the 9th of June 597 and was buried by his monks in the abbey he created. The annals record the first raid made by the Vikings upon Iona in 795, with further raids occurring in 802, 806 and 825. Columba's relics were finally removed in 849 and divided between Scotland and Ireland. Columba is credited as being a leading figure in the revitalisation of monasticism. The clan Malcolm and MacCallum claim that its name from Columba was founded by the descendants of his original followers, as well as Clan Robertson and Clan Duncan, who are also considered heirs of Columba. It has been speculated that the Clan MacKinnon also belonged to the kindred of Columba, noting that the MacKinnon arms bore the hand of Columba holding the cross, and that several MacKinnon abbots of Iona existed. However, the MacKinnons also included green abbots who were never priests and who were also corrupt. The MacDonald lords of the Isles dealt with them, imprisoning one who had been convicted of treachery, since Iona was the spiritual seat of Clan MacDonald. The cathedral of the Catholic Diocese of Argyll and the Isles is placed under the patronage of Saint Columba, as are numerous Catholic schools and parishes throughout the nation. The Scottish Episcopal Church and the Church of Scotland and the Evangelical Lutheran Church of England also have parishes dedicated to him. The village of Kilmacombe in Renfrewshire is also derived from Columcille's name. St Columba's Hospice, a prominent hospice in Edinburgh, is also named after the saint. The main source of information about Columba's life is the Life of Columba, an hagiography written by Adaman, or Yunan, one of Columba's successors, in the style of saints' lives, which were a narrative that had become widespread throughout medieval Europe. Both the Life of Columba and Saint Bede record Columba's visit to Brede, whereas Yunan just tells us that Columba visited Brede. Bede relates a later, perhaps Pictish tradition whereby Columba actually converts the Pictish king. Another early source is a poem in praise of Columba, most probably commissioned by Columba's kinsman, the king of the O'Neill clan. It was almost certainly written within 3 or 4 years of Columba's death and is the earliest vernacular poem in European history. Through the reputation of its venerable founder and its position as a major European centre of learning, Columba's Iona became a place of pilgrimage. And Columba is historically revered as a warrior saint and is often invoked for victory in battle. Relics of Columba were carried before Scottish armies in the reliquary made at Iona in the mid-8th century called the Brecbannock. Legend has it that the Brecbannock was carried to the Battle of Bannockburn by the vastly outnumbered Scottish army, and the intercession of Columba helped them to victory. And that is the end of the video. Thank you to those who made it this far, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Although I am not a religious person in any sense, I cannot deny the impact religion has had on history across the world in different ways. Please don't forget to share, like and subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment down below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.